Have you pressed recording? Have you pressed Zoom record as well?
I haven't, because it's just us. So as long as we both hit,
I'm
I
just
might just
doing
do.
what it tells me to do.
Yeah, I might just do it anyway. I might record it anyway, just in case there's a problem.
Recording in progress. So I better do it as well. Then. There you go. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, that's gone. So I'll just tweet out the link. Not that it makes a lot of difference, but hey ho, we'll do it anyway. Right, sent out. Are you recording on Audacity?
I am recording on Audacity.
So am I. Fantastic. Excellent. I think I've got everything up I need. Just double check this. You hear that?
Yeah.
Awesome. All good. All good. Are you happy with everything in the diary?
Yeah.
Cool. So the bullshit banter chat at the start of the podcast is actually going to be genuine because we haven't actually had a chance to speak yet.
Right. No.
So it's none of this bullshit. Oh, we've just been talking for 20 minutes, but now we're gonna do our introductions again. It's actually going to be genuine.
Yeah. I'm eating my shredded wheat because I haven't got any food in the house.
Cool.
I'm in Dublin.
Well,
actually,
are you in Dublin?
I'm in
cool.
Dublin. I'm in Dublin at the moment. So working over here. So yeah. So there's no kids or anything around, but I'm greatly missing at the moment.
Yeah.
So weird being away every week.
Yeah.
But
there it is.
I mean, it's the same one.
Solidarity. I remembered you said yours was palladium, mine's cobalt.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
I think cobalt is harder wearing, so hopefully it'll last longer than yours.
I mean, if it's anything, yeah, I got told palladium was like the hardest wearing thing, and there's
really?
like, yeah, it's a lie.
Yeah,
like
lies.
Oh
God, I've already got a delay. Brilliant.
Really? I've got good internet here, so this is not my end.
It's just a slight. I think it's my processor.
It's my processor. Bad workman always blames his tools. Something like
that. Something like that. Yeah. I'll just minimize Audacity so I don't see all of the waveform and everything. Hello, YouTube. Remember when we first started doing live streams? We used to be like have the whole kind of speak to the YouTube community before we started, saying like, please be aware this is this is unedited and blah blah blah. Now we just don't care.
Yeah, I'm probably swearing on it. I'm not gonna
I've just gone onto the live stream on the YouTube channel and it's got us
rings.
It's us rings.
I saw that.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, there we go. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
We're up.
God.
I haven't listened to my my 2-minute review either, so that's going to be interesting.
There we go. Yeah, well, you're going to have to. Are you doing the 2-minute challenge from 2 weeks ago as well?
No, I haven't done that one.
All right.
I was just gonna.
We'll ignore that one happened, even though it was McLaren's best.
Yeah, score. I know. I'm gutted, absolutely gutted. But I'll just basically when we start, I'll just say something about it, but I won't do a 2-minute challenge.
My cereal before we start.
Yeah, I'm just gonna unplug my headphones for a sec. No, I'm just gonna unplug my headphone for a sec.
All right.
Just because I have a knot in my cable.
Tom's unplugged his microphone because it was shit, and now there I swear, and now.
Oh no, that's the wrong way around.
I love that you can't actually hear me.
I can because you're on the ambient, but everyone can hear you.
Well, I'm eating my cereal, so I've just literally got in from work. So
yeah. So anyone watching this back not live on YouTube, it is currently 8:03 in the evening, and Carla's eating cereal, but I'm drinking water out of an Austrian Stein. So I've
stolen my housemate's mug. You can't
see
hate
it.
This bloody thing. It drives me crazy.
Just do fuzzy background instead.
I don't actually need to do a background. I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
scary behind me. Should I undo my background and see
If you want to. If there's like 5 men in banana hammocks standing behind you, then
what's behind me? My coat. There you go.
You could just look behind you.
That would have been the sensible
thing. Yeah. You could just do fuzzy background.
Yeah, but like, what's there to fuzz? My coat,
I suppose.
and my thing, and my curtains, which aren't closed properly.
Yeah,
they do look a bit messy. You can't see my bed. That's all right. So yeah, this is my Dublin home. So now here to
otherwise known as Diggs.
Diggs.
Do you say you're there till Christmas?
I think so.
Bloody hell.
Well, I don't know. They're debating pushing the week along, so I'm not sure. We'll see what happens.
You want to see a little present I got? This is strictly for the YouTube audience of like one, probably. This was a present from my now father-in-law. He bought a 3D printer.
Of course he did.
Because he's that kind of guy.
Knowing Paul, that exactly makes sense now.
And the first thing he 3D printed was this.
A cat.
Yeah, it's one of those like Chinese things, but then the Chinese
it doesn't wave.
Yes,
but that's then the thing that makes it lucky, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Rachel painted it.
Nice.
I think that's quite cool.
That is very cool.
So yeah, weighs next to nothing.
Hang on 2 seconds. I'm actually just going to shut my door. Not that my housemate's going to say I'm doing anything, but just in case. It's more to stop the annoyance of me shouting a lot. I've just noticed there's a picture in the corner of my room that I've never noticed.
You're so observant, you know that.
I literally, this is my digs. I literally come in here, fall asleep, and then that's it, and then go back out to work. That's the only problem with digs.
Digs follow digs.
Digs follow digs. But I'm going back every weekend. So on Mondays, I'm up at 4 a.m. driving up to Dublin. Driving up to Dublin, and then I stay up here till tomorrow night and tomorrow evening, afternoon, and then I drive back. That's my life at the moment. Hey ho.
Cool.
That's rubbish. Just trying to work out. Right, I'm sort of actually. I'm gonna just. Sorry, I had to wipe my nose, and I didn't think everyone should want to see that.
Probably not. No.
Got a bit of a cold. I've been snowboarding lessons.
Yes, you said that's what you couldn't do Tuesday.
I can't do Tuesdays anymore. That's the thing. I'm now doing, which is a bit annoying. But next week's my last lesson, so I might see what goes on beyond that. But I've been I've now started snowboarding because we're myself and your old housemate Ben, or my old housemate as well, and my best mate Bez, who's been on the podcast, and someone else are going skiing and snowboarding in the new year. And I decided, it'd be a good idea to learn. I obviously know how to ski, but I thought I'd try snowboarding. But God, I'm in pain. It is so painful.
Yeah, I've never done snowboarding, but I've done skiing.
I prefer snow. I would never go back to skiing. Why anyone would want to do skiing, I literally have no idea now. Having done snowboarding, it's so much cooler and so much more fun. And I feel like I break myself less. My arse hurts a bit more, and it's a bit like more strenuous than skiing. But,
I mean, the last time I went skiing, I was 15, so.
You used to like a school trip.
Yeah, you bounced at 15, didn't you? You didn't really.
Well, I had. This sounds like I went to a really posh private school, which I didn't. I went to a really shit comprehensive in Guildford. Okay, it's in Guildford, but that's not the point. But we had a ski slope in my school, and we had to learn to ski as part of our PE lessons.
Of course you did, but no, you're not posh.
I'm not posh. But yeah. So yeah, I had to learn to ski there. They didn't give you the option to snowboard. And it was the most stupidest thing to have to do. Well, basically what happened is they built the school, had a big pile of mud, and they then had to either remove all the mud and make a big hole to put a swimming pool in, or they just left it and put a ski slope on it. That's what they did. So it was laziness.
Cool. Right, shall I start the title sequence? Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Have that.
Oh yes, should probably get my speech ready.
Not your wedding speech. We've done that bit already.
Yeah.
Is that clock going slowly? It is. That's gone on.
You updated this?
No.
I don't ever remember Glock going slowly.
Yeah. That's when Hamilton won the championship in 2008.
Yeah. I don't remember ever like hearing it.
Oh! Hinchcliffe with a big one. Big one.
Big one.
Welcome to the Monkeyseat, the podcast that knows that we should stop, but we're too stubborn. My name is Tom.
And I'm Carl, who feels like he's always second to Tom, even though I think and know I am actually better.
We are a fully independent podcast hosted by two opinionated friends who like to put the world to rights.
You can find us on all major podcasting platforms by searching for the Monkeyseat podcast.
You can get in touch with us by leaving a 5-star review to get a shout out on the show, or you can visit monkeyseatpod.com to support us with cold hard cashola.
Gosh,
hard cashola.
We are on all the socials at Monkeyseat Pod, so please get in touch and tell us why we're wrong.
We'd also like to acknowledge all the great work of our partner charity, Furballs Rescue, who are continuing to do great work in our local area, rehoming abandoned cats. In my local area, yes, they're doing amazing.
Dublin.
No, they're doing amazing work, looking after and rehoming the lovely bundles of joy that often make a feature on this podcast, and they need funding far more than we do. So head to furballsrescue.org to see how you can help them. Please give generously. So yeah, hello, welcome back.
He's a married man.
I'm a married man. We were just showing each other our rings on the live stream to anyone who's wedding rings, that is. So yes. Just to clarify. We both awkwardly both went for pretty much the same wedding ring, except Carl's is a bit more worn out. So that's a bit of a metaphor for your marriage, isn't it?
Oh, what? I mean, 6 years is still very much still going strong. So
yeah, no, you're fine.
Come back to me in 6 years and see where you're at.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm sure I'll still be very, very happy with Mrs. Tom. But firstly, a personal apology to McLaren for not podcasting after the Monza Grand Prix because there's no excuse really. Just life kind of got in the way. I was directing a musical, and Carl was busy also doing all kinds of other stuff. But to celebrate the Daniel Ricciardo win, I did get my hands on a Golf McLaren hoodie, which I'm currently wearing.
It looks white. I didn't even notice.
There we go.
There you go. Laura was going to buy me one, and then
she said. I think I texted her to say that I bought it, and then she said that you didn't like it. So I was like, cool, good.
I don't think I couldn't justify the price of it.
It's bloody expensive. It's like 90 quid or something, or 85 quid. It's hugely expensive, and it's not. I have to say, I absolutely adore McLaren, but their merchandise is bloody expensive, and it isn't that great. Yeah,
Laura brought me like a T-shirt, and I sent it back. I was just like, "This is far too expensive." And it's not that great quality. It doesn't look that good,
I'm always seeing this. I'm on like one of the McLaren Facebook fan pages, and the amount of people that post pictures of their T-shirts on there saying this is the third T-shirt where the transfers have all come off within 2 weeks. And I mean, all mine have been fine. I don't know what these people do when they wash them, but the fact that they even do that just shows that they're not amazing. I mean, this is really comfortable.
To iron them.
Yeah,
this
is really comfortable, but when you get a hoodie and you can tell that the first time you wash it, it's not like the
Monkeyseat one, which is lovely and warm.
No, I would say this is similar quality to the Monkeyseat one,
and you paid a quarter of the price, I'm sure.
Exactly. But like I've got a couple of Superdry hoodies that are twice as thick. Oh, here comes the cat! Great already. So apologies for not podcasting after.
I've just realised it says Carl location manager. That seems a bit.
Oh, does it? Oh, yeah. You should probably change that. So my 2-minute review of Monza is basically me cheering. So there we go. That's my 2-minute review of the Monza Grand Prix. Or the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. So yes, great, good race all round. But we've got another good race to talk about this week, and I never thought I'd be saying that after a race at Sochi. Yes, you can.
I don't know how.
3 dots.
Oh my God, there's 3 dots.
And then click rename. 3 dots top right, click rename and change it.
Thanks.
So this is this is your online tutorial of how to use Zoom.
I know. I'm just going to be Carl. There we go. I'm not working. They don't need to know I'm a location manager. They probably read it for the last 10 minutes anyway, wondering what the hell. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
I bet you missed us, guys.
I bet they didn't.
Do we need to talk about Monza anyway? Apart, it was crash bang wallop. I think we've should we just talk about it quickly as to whose fault was it?
Yeah, we can do. I mean, I am of a very similar opinion to how I was at Silverstone.
Talking about it, but
yeah, exactly. I'm of a very similar opinion that I was at Silverstone. That you could potentially blame one over the other, but at the end of the day, it's a racing incident. I don't think anyone should have got a penalty. And for me, justice was done at Silverstone when Hamilton came back to win the race after getting the penalty, because I don't think it should have been a penalty. And equally, Verstappen fighting back to second in the Russian Grand Prix, negated his penalty. So justice is done there as well. So no harm, no foul. Let's move on. Let's not get so angry about it, because at the end of the day,
a lot of people did though.
Yeah, everything evens out everything evens out in motorsport.
I've noticed this about motorsport. Like, everyone just gets so irate about things.
I think it was a massive excuse for Hamilton fans to get back at Max Verstappen fans for getting so angry after Silverstone. They were just like, they would say, "Oh, he didn't go back and check on him," and it's like, so bloody what? The car was in reverse. He was trying to back out the gravel trap.
Yeah,
of course he wasn't going to check on him, because if he had got a check on him, then he could have got run over.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you know me, I'm a big Hamilton fan, but that whole thing, I'm just not interested in. Both for me were racing incidents. I'm not going to get involved in all the, Max Verstappen should be banned and all this lot, because all it is just.
I don't think he should be banned. What should be banned for? Like, no.
Yeah, literally.
People need to calm the hell down about these situations.
Yeah, definitely. And my new McLaren hoodie is already covered in cat fur, because the cat has jumped on me 6 times already in this podcast, and he's really starting to annoy me. And he keeps rubbing his head against the microphone as well. Piss off, cat.
And the good thing is, no one died. The halo worked once again.
Yeah.
I always thought the halo looked like the most stupidest thing when they first announced it.
Yeah.
And thank God they have. Yeah.
But to be fair though, if you're looking at dangerous incidents, I know Verstappen ended up in hospital after the Silverstone Grand Prix or the British Grand Prix, but if there was no halo, then Hamilton probably would be dead, and Verstappen would still be here based on those 2 incidents.
Yeah.
So it's even though one was low speed and one was high speed, it goes to show that you don't have to have a high speed collision to be dangerous in Formula One.
No, it was just being in the it was such a freak weird accident anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like I always had last season that I felt like someone was going to die, and then we had the Grosjean incident.
Yeah.
And it felt like that last year. I don't know why, but it felt like everyone was driving like a loony. And this year it doesn't, even though we've had lots of instances and things, and there is moments of what the hell are you doing? It doesn't feel like everyone's out to kill each other this year.
No. It's a bit of a crazy year last year. A lot of people were ring rusty, and that led to a lot of mistakes. But I mean, even without that crash, I still genuinely think that McLaren had the pace to win that race 1-2, even without that crash between Hamilton and Verstappen. I think it would have been close, but Norris was ahead of Hamilton on track, and Ricciardo was out in front, genuinely on pace. And they would have, Verstappen and Hamilton would have closed up, and then they would have been 3rd and 4th. But I genuinely think the McLarens had the pace, as they proved in the first part of the race, to win that race 1-2 anyway. So that's just really good all round.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It was nice to see, and even with this week's race, last week's race, whatever you want to call it, it was nice to see a different podium. But there's lots of talking points about this week's. So, do you want to give us a reminder as to what happened this week?
Yes, let's do the 2-minute challenge then. Sainz took the lead from Norris from Russell, and a fast-starting Lance Stroll. Hamilton's good getaway saw him have to get out of the throttle after a robust defence from Norris, leaving him 7th behind Ricciardo, with Alonso just ahead. Hamilton made a quick work of Alonso, passing him on lap 2, but was then stuck behind Ricciardo. Verstappen took just 6 laps to clear Bottas to climb to 14th. He quickly then passed Gasly, who then did the team job and kept Bottas at arm's length. Lap 13 and Lando Norris finally hit the front, passing Sainz and immediately started pulling away. Stroll made an early stop to try and undercut Russell, who was causing a traffic jam in his trimmed out Williams, and Sainz and Russell followed suit, promoting Hamilton, but Norris stayed out, preferring track evolution over degradation. Ricciardo went a little longer, but stopped for hards on lap 23 with another slow stop. And Hamilton, now second, 14 seconds off Norris, began his pursuit in clean air. Amazingly, Verstappen was fifth and only 3 seconds back from Hamilton, with both drivers yet to pit. They both pitted on the same lap 27, but and with Norris pitting 2 laps later, he maintained the lead over Hamilton. Hamilton was given the call from Toto saying, "You can win this race." I won't do it in the accent. While Bottas was in P16 with no pace and was told, "Well, we're on for top 5, Valtteri," but you could clearly hear his engineers laughing in the background. Norris hit the front again with Hamilton less than 3 seconds behind, and Verstappen 20 seconds back in 7th, really struggling with his tyres. Norris looked comfortable, setting fastest laps, but the attention turned to the sky as rain began to fall. The front two were 40 seconds up the road and in a different race to everyone else, but with 5 laps to go, people began to stop for intermediates. Both drivers up front ignored calls to come in from their teams, saying that they could live with the conditions, but Hamilton eventually caved. Sure enough, the rain falls harder, and Norris was left out on track on impossible tyres, along with Perez, Alonso, and Leclerc losing literally minutes per lap. Hamilton ended up inheriting his 100th win, judging it perfectly, with Verstappen amazingly taking second and Sainz in third. Easy.
Is that it? Wow.
Yeah, that was it. I did cut out a few bits because I thought it'd be too long, but that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. So, I don't like. Well, I don't know. I've seen your order here. Should we talk just about your order, just because it's just easier than?
If you want to, or just if you want to make diversions to other subjects, that's fine.
Yeah, let's just start with the obvious one, which is the Lando tires thing.
Yeah, well, just the drive in general.
So what was Lando being a dick?
Do you know what? I after the race. I mean, I will, cards on the table here. I was incredibly hungover watching this race. Like,
oh yeah, it was after your rap party, wasn't it?
We're talking 6 bottles of beer and 2 bottles of prosecco hungover. And not in like the right order as well. It was beer, prosecco, beer, prosecco, beer, prosecco. I got in at 6:30 and then was woken up at 9 o'clock.
Well, it makes a difference.
Say goodbye to the in-laws.
It makes a difference from you having being driven back from being stood in a bush.
Well, yeah, there is that.
You did one time.
So I was incredibly hungover, and it wasn't really until halfway through the race that I kind of woke up and was able to kind of take in what was going on. But I was not fit for human contact, which is why I was very silent on our Slack group during that race, because I was just dead. But yeah, it was an incredible drive from Lando Norris. And I was, at the time, I mean, it reminded me so much of Brazil 2008, of like just watching the skies and will the rain come? And then it did come, and it's like, oh, is it going to make a difference? Is it not going to make a difference? Shall they pit? Should they not pit? And I was in 2 minds. There was such a big gap back to third. I was like, just pit. Guaranteed that second place, just pit. But and I thought, Norris was going for glory, and I thought, if Ricciardo hadn't have won the previous race, perhaps he doesn't make that decision. But and at the time, I was thinking, well, it's a great drive, but there's no way can you consider him for driver of the day because of the it was his call.
Yeah.
But since then, I've heard a few transcripts of or read a few transcripts of radio messages, and to be honest, I think Lando has done absolutely nothing wrong, and I think he's the information that he was given was
it sounded like
was at fault.
It sounded like the weather control. I don't know. Do they all get the same weather information?
They do, but they have to interpret it. They just get the data, but they have to extrapolate that into
whoever was deciding that obviously didn't have the same thought process as every other team. But every other team is changing for wet, intermediates, I'd change over to intermediates at that point, because you knew that it wasn't going to get dry, but it was quite funny because I was watching it with my wife, and there was a point where it looked completely dry, and suddenly they seemed to just turn a corner, and it looked like the rain had just dropped.
But the problem with the track is it's one of the longest, like with regards to distance covered, because the track isn't very, isn't very wide as a whole. The circuit itself is very much like I was going to say Mandy Core, Paul Ricard. It's very long, so like Spa. You can have it completely wet in one part of the track and completely dry in the other. And we've never had rain at Russia before, so no one's ever had to kind of consider it before.
Which is strange because it's right by the sea. You'd think that maybe there would be.
Yeah, apparently, I only heard this a couple of days ago. For the first couple of Russian Grand Prix, they were seeding the clouds to make sure that it didn't rain. They were literally like,
so Russian.
I was like, you can do that? But yeah, they were like literally dispersing the clouds to make it look.
I watched a film where someone was sucking up. It was some kids' film where someone was sucking up the clouds and then it exploded. Can't remember.
Oh right.
What was that?
Who knows? But yeah, so yeah, apparently you can do that. I had no idea you could even do that. But yeah, so that's what they were doing to make it look like a glorious location, because it's all about selling Russia as a destination.
Yeah.
So yeah, not good. But I think the problem is, like, you've got Mercedes that are so used to winning, and McLaren that are on the way back up, but they haven't won in such a long time. I know they won the previous race, but they haven't been in a strategic battle to win a race in so long. The difference was Hamilton radio messages from Bono were rain is going to get heavier, or the track is going to get wetter. And if Norris tries to hang this out, he's going to be in trouble. They were the messages, the clear messages where you need to be on wet tyres. And I know it's easier when you're in second place, but then after Hamilton ducked in, Norris was then in a position, because Hamilton was so much quicker on the intermediates, he was guaranteed second. Mm-hmm. And then his engineer comes over the radio and says, the rain is going to stay like this. Now, what he actually meant was the track is going to get wetter because it's going to continue raining at this intensity. But Lando heard the track conditions are going to stay like this. But actually what he was saying was it's going to get wetter. But unfortunately, the wording was wrong. And as a result, Lando thought, well, I can stick with this. If I pit now, I'm guaranteed second. But if the rain's going to stay like this, I've got a 25-second lead. There's 4 laps to go. All I've got to do is be not 6 seconds slower than Hamilton. I'm going to stick this out. Yeah. So I completely understand why he's made that decision. But then obviously he turns a corner and it's a monsoon.
The thing is with these, like, whose decision should that be? It feels very much like if Mercedes or Red Bull say, you're coming in for wets, no matter how much Hamilton bitches and moans, he's coming in for wets. That's what it feels like. But but McLaren seem to take a lot more of what the drivers are saying, which I think has done them more instead than it has in, in negative terms. It's listening to what their drivers have actually got to say. But it does seem like, and then the same with Williams at the moment. I don't know what's going on with Williams. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But it does feel like who say should be, you're coming in for wets. Should that be the drivers saying, I'm coming in for wets, or should that be, or intermediates, whatever you want to call them?
So for me, the decision has to lie with the people that have the most information available to them. So when you're looking at radar and you're looking at weather conditions, like the weather conditions right now, the driver can tell you exactly how much grip they got. They can judge exactly how much grip they've got and if they can cope with it right now. But the pit wall can tell you that in 30 seconds, there's another front of rain that's going to hit the track. The driver can't possibly know that. When the track is drying out and you're transitioning from wets to dries, absolutely it's the driver's call, 100%, because they're the one that's on track. They're the ones that are seeing the conditions. The weather conditions, the radar is not going to tell you how grippy the track is. It's only going to tell you what the climatic conditions are. So for me, they told Hamilton to box. He said, no, I'm sticking with it. And then the next message was the first message was the crossover is now. You need intermediates. He ignored it, stayed out, because he's like, he's right there, man. He's right there. I can take this. And then the next message was you need to box now for wets, pit confirm, and then that then comes up on the steering wheel, and that's an instruction for Hamilton to box, and he has to confirm that he is definitely coming in. That's the difference between a team that's won 7 constructors championships in a row and a team that's won 1 race in a decade.
Yeah.
So for me, Lando did absolutely nothing wrong, and he did everything that Hamilton did. And unfortunately, in this scenario, much as I love McLaren, their inexperience at winning races in recent times came through, and that's why Lando Norris didn't win that race. But when he did go off track, what a save! When he was just going straight on, and to kick the back end out like that to stop him going into the barrier and losing his front wing, and then to still get round, do a 3-minute lap, and then still come out in the points.
Yeah,
and then have the presence of mind to be able to make an overtake on Kimi Räikkönen on the last lap as well.
And the question there is should Lando have got a penalty for the whole pit fiasco?
Technically, yes.
Why didn't he?
But if you're looking at precedent and common sense, like you look at Yuki Tsunoda in Austria.
He skidded past it. It wasn't like
So like Yuki Tsunoda in Austria was bad driving. He just didn't. He wasn't able to control his car correctly, and he just basically just drifted outside the line. But it was a dry track. He knew what he was doing. He had experience, and there's no reason why he should have done that. Whereas Norris, they've looked at everything that he'd done previously. They knew that he was going at the correct speed, the conditions, the tyre he was on. Common sense has prevailed there. He just didn't have the grip. He made every possible effort to get it.
He obviously went around that corner, and we've already seen that corner's tight anyway. The entrance into that pit is tight anyway. So he went past it, and then he went back over the line into the pits, which is obviously probably the more dangerous part, coming back into that full line of fire, bearing in mind. But one presumes that the reason they didn't do it is because he was going on to intermediates. It wasn't a race strategy, it was a safety issue. And that's why he had to go on to intermediates at that point. And if he then in theory stayed out and went for another lap on those,
it was safer for him to cross that line. It would have safer for him to cross that line and come back in the pits than it would have been to continue on.
I mean, shocking that the stewards had some bit of common sense for
but there is a precedent to it as well. Hamilton did it in Hockenheim. He crossed the white line on pit entry for safety reasons, because he didn't want to go around the entire track with a broken front wing, so he crossed the line to get in. He didn't get a penalty for that. That was a precedent that was set, and now they've obviously stayed firm on that, which is great. That's kind of what I want to see, consistency. Although saying that, I fully expected him to get a penalty. He fully expected to get a penalty, and I would not complain if he had. I complain about Verstappen getting a penalty for Monza. I complain about Hamilton getting a penalty for Silverstone. I talked about the blue in the face. I wouldn't have complained about Norris getting a penalty in. And
I'm glad he didn't. And it seems like great thing for that. And I don't think he was driver of the day. I think he did a great drive, but I think he probably didn't get the driver of the day for me. We'll discuss that in a bit.
We'll discuss that when we come back to it.
But I think Lando was a strong drive, but I think there was lots of issues and things, and I think he could have taken the second and just been a lot better in place. So Max's drive.
It's a real.
It started at the very back. Let's be honest.
It was a Jekyll and Hyde performance, though, wasn't it? It's like the first part was great. He was made a great pass on Bottas, great save, almost being taken out by Vettel and Leclerc, but then he got stuck and he just couldn't go anywhere. But then made the perfect call at the perfect time onto intermediate tyres, and then came through for second. Which and I was saying about
was he stuck in a DRS train? Is that what was going?
Well, yes, he'd grained his tyres up. His front left was grained, and he was stuck behind. I forget who he was stuck behind now. Was it Ricciardo? No, it wasn't Ricciardo. That was Hamilton. But he was stuck there in 7th place. Maybe he's Alonso or Ocon, something like that. But he was just stuck in that position. He couldn't go anywhere. Couldn't get any further. I mean, he was 3 or 4 seconds behind Hamilton when they both came in for a pit stop, and then at the time it started raining, he was 50 seconds behind.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in pace. Considering that he was, and that's he wasn't in free air. He was bottled up behind someone, but he just couldn't overtake at that point.
Yeah, I think it was Jekyll and Hyde. I think let's be fair. He ended up fourth,
second.
Oh, it was second, wasn't
Yeah, he came through to second.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing drive from back. My question is, like qualifying, should he have bothered to even try and get out and qualify like Leclerc did?
Well, cards on the table here. I haven't watched qualifying.
So qualifying was interesting in the basis of Verstappen didn't even bother getting out, and he had
he was going to be starting.
We knew. Hang on, we knew he was starting at the back, but he didn't even think about getting out. We knew that Leclerc was going to get out. Was going to have an engine swap as well, and he still got out. We knew Bottas was going to have an engine swap as well, and he still got out. We knew that. Oh, sorry, was it Hamilton? Hamilton.
Bottas had an engine penalty.
Bottas had an engine penalty, and he still got out. And then Latifi we knew he was going to have an engine penalty, and he got out. So my thing, and then there was obviously someone else that ended up. Giovinazzi, I think, had a penalty as well, didn't he? So he ended up at the back as well. So there was 5 cars that were at the back, and so Verstappen, by not coming out, put himself into 20th.
Yeah.
But Latifi, who did come out, ended up in 16th, if I remember correctly, because he came out and he got, ahead of the rest of them.
I think,
like, why would you not come out in that to try and get as far up in knowing that there was other ones that were going to be having penalties?
Okay, so I think on that one, it's a bit of risk versus reward in that they've taken a full engine. They've taken an absolute full engine. Like, for example, Bottas took an engine penalty, but he only swapped out 3 elements. He changed the internal combustion engine and 2 other bits, maybe an NGUK and maybe NGUH. But he changed 3 elements of the power unit, which meant he got a 12-place grid drop, which put him back in 17th, something like that, or 10-place grid drop, putting him back in 17th. But that meant he'd still be ahead of Verstappen on track. So he took a smaller penalty. Verstappen had like a 24-place grid drop or something for all the power unit components. So the people that did go out, unless Latifi qualified in like 12th, he probably still would have been behind Latifi.
But no, that was the whole thing, is that Latifi did go out because he was keeping an eye on Leclerc, knowing that whether if he could get up higher than Leclerc,
what I'm saying is
he would get out, and that's what happens.
Risk versus reward, though. The weather conditions, from what I hear in qualifying, were pretty treacherous. So
they weren't. They were dry.
They were wet.
They were dry.
In qualifying. They were wet because Q3 was wet, wasn't it?
No.
Because they were going intermediates to dries.
No.
I haven't.
So qualifying was completely dry. Completely dry. I'm sure of it.
No, because I heard the reason. No, in fact, I've seen clips of it because Hamilton was on intermediates in Q3 and then hit the pit wall coming in to change onto dries, and Bottas had to wait for it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
No, it was wet. I haven't even seen it. Come on, Carl.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I saw a couple of clips. So it was a treacherous wet qualifying. I don't know if it was wet the entire time, but I know they went to dries right at the end, and that's how Norris set a time half a second quicker than anyone else.
I've just noticed my wife's online. Jesus, she sent me messages.
You
can tell neither of us have looked at us in a while.
Yeah, lots of messages. Fantastic. So
it started wet, as Laura saying.
Yeah, there's every possibility.
Maybe that's it. It started wet and then went dry.
Yeah, no, it finished dry. Yeah. The quickest time was on dry tyres. I know that because I saw the timings on the thing, and they're all on dry tyres. But Norris was half a second quicker.
Yeah.
So there was a big danger of getting tangled up in someone else's accident, and realistically, the highest he was going to start because of the amount of grid drops he had would have been 14th, 15th.
Yeah.
So risking that much for a couple of places, which he's, with the quickest car on the track, he's going to pass those guys anyway. So I think I personally probably would have sent him out, but they're probably still thinking about engine mileage because all they've done is they've replaced the engine that they had to replace anyway, but they still would have been tight on mileage anyway. So they still need to watch the engine mileage. They can't just.
I did say this to Laura, because look, we were questioning this why Verstappen wasn't out, and I said there's probably more chance of him going into a wall and then having another issue and trying to repeat. The chance for the fight for the 4 places that he's going to make is not going to make any difference to them because they'll get past those 4 places anyway.
Yeah,
on track. So why bother smashing it into a wall in qualifying?
Exactly my thoughts.
So, and that's sort of, we were discussing that, as to why he didn't come out. But it was just interesting to hear another sort of thing. So I don't think Max's drive. I think Max did cleverly, and again, it shows the power of Red Bull as a team. I think.
Yeah, I think
he
was
the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah, he got into the position. He couldn't get any further, but he was fortuitous in that, he made the call to. I mean, he took the risk. Let's be honest. If he was in second place, he probably wouldn't have gone on to Inters on the lap he did. He probably would have waited a couple of laps. Yeah. But he was in a position where they had nothing to lose, so he went for it, and it paid off. And at the end of the day, he was putting the lap times in difficult conditions, so he fully deserved that. And it was what a comeback to come back to second. It was phenomenal. It's very good. Yeah. And he's been the informed driver. I had a great stat about the last 8 races or something. Hamilton's led 11 laps and Verstappen's led 208 or something like that.
Yeah.
And in the season, Verstappen has led more laps than the rest of the field combined, it just goes to show that car and driver combination is
strong,
phenomenal. It's by far the best package this season.
I think Verstappen deserves to win this season. Yeah. As much as I don't want Verstappen to win this season, I think
I don't mind. I'm it's obvious that British bias and all that crap, but it's obvious that I'm a Hamilton fan. But genuinely, if you said to me Hamilton to win the championship by country mile or Verstappen to win it but it goes to the last race, I would say Verstappen win it but it goes to the last race. And I'm genuine when I say that. He does now. This season Verstappen has made that transition into that elite world-class driver status. Now, people would say he's been world-class for a couple of years, but he hasn't shown that consistency. Come the end of the year, unless he throws it away in petulant, childlike manner and just has crashes that he doesn't need to get involved with, which he does still have a little bit in him. He didn't need to get involved with Hamilton and Silverstone. He didn't need to get involved with Hamilton and Monza. And he does still have a little bit of that inexperience in him, but he has made that step. He is now potentially, with his overall potential and pace, the strongest package on the grid at the moment. Hamilton is definitely past his peak, but he's still got a huge amount to offer and a huge amount of experience. So Hamilton's not going to get any better now, whereas Verstappen probably can, which is scary.
Although I like to clarify for Laura, I am still going to moan and groan about Verstappen. I am not his biggest fan. I think he's just a bit of a grumpy arsehole, which doesn't help the situation.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he is. He's an entitled little nonce, and I don't particularly. I mean, to be honest, a lot of people don't like Hamilton as a person. I've got no major issues with him, but I'm not going to make my. I'm not going to.
Just talking to the about the Hamilton thing. We brought this up in the Slack the other day, and it's slightly off topic. I love how we're all in COVID times, and we're still in COVID times, whether we like it or not. Yet Hamilton manages to have a crash, bump on the head of someone going over, and the next day he's in New York at the Met Gala.
Yeah,
it's amazing what you can do when you've got money.
Yeah. It's,
I can barely leave Ireland.
What I found more hilarious about that was just how annoyed people were because he was wearing what looked like a petticoat on one leg.
No, and it's net curtains on one leg.
Okay, I wouldn't wear the kind of clothes that Hamilton would wear, and I'm not particularly a fan of his fashion sense. But I do not get angry with him on the internet over it. It's his choice. At the end of the day, what he wears.
I'm more like, why the hell is he in New York? Not what is he wearing?
Yeah, I couldn't give a toss what he's wearing. I just don't know why people get so angry about it.
But at the end of the day, you know what? The interesting thing is that the reason he was wearing that was because it was designed by a load of black designers who were with him on that carpet that he'd brought, and it was all pro-black, pro-blame, pro-black, whatever you want to call it. Thing. So fair play on him. Grand on that. I just thought it's hilarious that we're all being COVID cautious, and he's flying around the world.
Yeah,
it's all right when you've got money and fame.
Yeah. Speaking of money, the man himself, Mr. Stroll, bumper cars. What was he playing? Like, I was thinking about Lance.
Does he not like Vettel or something?
Oh yeah, clearly doesn't like Vettel. And but I wanted to touch on something else as well.
Did you see the picture of the two of them when they've announced their lineup, that they're doing the lineup? Stroll was looking deeply into camera. Vettel was looking somewhere over there, like, what the fuck's over there? Is that a new contract somewhere over there in a better team? So funny.
That's their album cover.
Yeah.
No, I think I wanted to touch on the Otmar situation, because obviously it's been well broadcast that Aston Martin.
I don't get this. I don't get what's going on.
So it's been well broadcast that they've brought in Martin Whitmarsh, and I know Martin Whitmarsh obviously was CEO of not CEO. He was in charge of the McLaren racing team when Ron Dennis stepped aside, but Ron Dennis was still CEO of the group, so he was still overall in charge.
Team principal or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and he was, but he'd been at McLaren for a very long time, and he was made the scapegoat when McLaren had a pretty horrendous 2012 and 2013. Well, 2012 was actually a decent season,
when Mercedes grew. So
they had an awful 2013 season, and then Ron Dennis stepped in. I can't remember if he stepped in 2013 or 2014, but either way, he stepped back in, and then Martin Whitmarsh was made a scapegoat of, and he was out. But they brought him in
since then. He hasn't done it.
Well, he's been not in Formula One. He's not been back in Formula One since, but he's been brought in now, and obviously it kind of undermines Otmar Schaffner a little bit. But Schaffner was quoted as saying a few weeks back that Lance Stroll is the most exciting talent in Formula One at the moment, and has the potential to be a world champion. And it's like, it just reeks of someone desperate to save their job. Now, we've said this multiple times that Lance Stroll is a capable Formula One driver. He can score points in the midfield, and given the correct equipment and the right circumstances, like Esteban Ocon, could win Formula One races. Yeah. But he is not. What is he? 2017 he came in, he was 18. So that makes him 22, 23. He's the same age as Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that he's a more exciting prospect than Max Verstappen? Really?
Or Norris, or Russell,
or even Alex Albon, even Alex Albon. At least Alex Albon's outperformed his car on occasion. It took
even Latifi this week, the last few weeks, but
that's going a bit far. But
we're talking about that in a minute.
Yeah, but Stroll, I was thinking, like, Stroll, he's just someone that doesn't get involved in incidents, is steady, fairly good in the rain.
Sorry, he doesn't get involved in incidents.
But then this week, but then the last couple of weeks, all he's done is crash into his teammate, be crap in the rain, and not fulfill his potential. And it's like, are you trying to prove me right?
Yeah, like I don't like. I bet that what is going on with Aston Martin, because I love that Aston Martin. Oh yeah, we've got a budget cap in. Here's a £200 million new factory. Off you go, lads. Yeah, all right. I see where the money's going to play on this one. It's like budget cap my ass. We're still throwing money at it, but we throw money in different ways. Oh, and then we hire Whitmore. I wonder if there is a gameplay on that, as well as highest paying staff members as well. And whether there's
there is. It's top 3 staff members don't come under the budget cap.
It's going to be Otmar, and whether that then changes further down the line, and Whitmarsh, and whether
Aston Martin is still coming up to the budget cap, whereas Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull are coming down to the budget cap. Yeah. So they're still investing. So they haven't got to worry about that at the moment, but they've still got to be efficient with their money.
So they've also got a heck load of money they're throwing around up here.
Yeah.
And it is interesting as to what how would you like to be? Would you like to be in Otmar's shoes? Like,
no, I would not.
That's such a strange thing to be happening.
I would not like to work for that team at all.
Like, if you were Otmar, you'd be like, thanks, but yeah, great, bye.
Apparently, there's a huge amount of turnover in that team right now. There's lots of people leaving and lots of people being
why hasn't Otmar left? Or is he leaving and we just don't know about it?
Well, this is the thing. I think he's fighting for his job, but and that's why he has to big up Lance Stroll.
Why would he why would Otmar bother? I don't get it. Like, why would Otmar bother in that?
He's been there a long time.
I mean,
he cares about
but
that
I'm
team.
sure-
He's been there a hell of a
but-
long time.
But I'm sure that there are other teams that would be interested in him.
Oh yeah, 100%. There'd be lots of teams that would snap him up.
You know,
Alpine would be the team that would be going for him.
Well,
he would do a great
Williams
Alpine.
and
Well, Williams are currently doing a restructuring and they've brought some people in. I don't think Williams would be. But Alfa Romeo would be a good one.
You know, there's people that would be very interested in keeping him. Why would you stay with him? And you can see it in Drive to Survive, and I know it's slightly fictionalized, but you can see there's a undercurrent of not happiness between Mr. Lawrence Stroll and Otmar, and it's all a bit sort of weird as to why you would bother being there. And I feel that there's other places for him to go. So I don't like, and the money is obviously going to be good for him, but I just don't think, you know, being pushed aside like that. You know, it happened this week to me in some ways with work. Like I had someone else, I've got another location manager coming in alongside me, and that just felt a bit like strange as to why he's coming in. But you know, it's great and we get on. But to have someone come above you, that's the different matter. And it just feels a bit like, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. And team morale, why would you bring someone in like that? That, you know, there's someone that's been out of the industry for a number of years. Obviously, we don't know what he's been doing in that time, and realistically, whether he's been involved in other ways. But when you're not doing a bad job, I don't think Aston Martin are doing a bad job this year. They're not doing a great job.
I think they're not living to their potential, and I think Lawrence Stroll is very disappointed in what he sees to be backwards.
Whose fault is that? Where's the failures? Where's the failures? I don't think.
From what I hear,
I don't think. Yeah, go on.
From what I hear, the team wanted to design their own car. The engineers, the design team, but Lawrence Stroll had this, whether it was Lawrence Stroll or somebody who went to Lawrence Stroll and then he agreed, wanted to go down this whole imitation idea that they did from the 2019 Mercedes to the 2020 pink Mercedes. Now that meant obviously there's no evolution in concept, which means they've then got to figure out that concept and then they've got to hack 30% of the floor away and then try and figure out what makes this car quick now. So it's a combination of the route that they took with the funds they had available.
I don't think.
Well, I mean, that car should be competing with it's probably a bit much to say that it should be up there with the McLarens and the Ferraris, but it should definitely be in the fight with Alpine and AlphaTauri. And they're not. They're very much behind those two.
Let's just take this. There's obviously maybe you're right in the car scenario because they're not qualifying where they should, and this is factored in on the fact that Vettel has done the most overtakes this year. So
yeah, but I hate that stat.
No, okay, you might hate that stat. I get that, but it does suggest that it's not driver inability to get past people. It is the car that can't qualify fast enough, and then they have to make up on the racetrack.
Yeah, and Aston Martin, I have praised them earlier in the season with their strategy and their strategy department. They have done some really interesting strategies, but they strategized themselves on Sunday out of a top four finish, potentially. Lance Stroll was in fourth on merit, genuinely. He could have stayed there. He could have, but they tried to undercut him ahead of George Russell because he couldn't get past him. And then as a result, he ends up fighting with his teammate and then crashing into the back of Gasly and getting a penalty after the race and getting penalty points on his license. Not the points he was after, but they'll take anything at the moment. But it's just been a comedy of errors their entire weekend.
My thought is that it's not Vettel, it's Stroll that's screwing the situation up.
Well, they both are. I mean, Vettel's not been what we expected him to be, but he's...
Sorry, no, hang on.
He's improved from last year.
What we're expecting. He's exactly what we expect him to be. We obviously proved that he wasn't up to his finest standard when he was in Ferrari, and we laughed about that, thinking it was Ferrari just not wanting him, but he's done exactly what we expected. He's done slightly better, but
I I expect him to blow Stroll out of the water. I got to be honest, and he hasn't.
Why?
But,
okay, would you have kept the 2 drivers then? I don't know what the deal is.
Well, there's no. They're not going to get rid of Stroll, are they? Stroll's there for
but would you kept Vettel?
Yeah, I think
if you
for next year, yeah.
Stroll,
there's no one else on the market. There's no one else on the market that they could have gone for. There was rumours they were talking to Alonso. I mean, unless they're going to bring in,
not going to move over.
They are not going to bring in someone like Oscar Piastri or Nick De Vries or someone like that who wants to prove themselves because they're up against Lance Stroll. The only people they're going to bring in, well, yeah, that's the kind of people that you would potentially bring in. People like Nico Hülkenberg or Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, people that have had their time, and then you can then say, oh, look how good my boy's doing against this world champion. Kimi Räikkönen is the only other one you would potentially say, oh, Kimi's an ex-world champion, and yet Lance Stroll's beating him. Yeah, but Giovinazzi's beating him. We know how good he is. I'm pretty sure Yuki Tsunoda would beat Kimi Räikkönen at the moment.
Have Romeo announced their team yet?
They've announced Bottas, but that's it.
What about Giovinazzi?
Giovinazzi his seat is currently the only seat that's not confirmed for next year. But there's rumours that it's Guan Yu Zhou because of the money that he brings. Which, spoiler alert, if you look at F2, his 4th season in F2, and he is nowhere near the rookie, Oscar Piastri.
I
just don't rate him.
Second or first?
He was winning the championship at one point, but again, it's his 4th year. It's Jolyon Palmer syndrome.
Yeah.
You stay in a series for long enough. All the best competition moves elsewhere, and then you're the most experienced person left with some talent, and then you end up winning. That's how Jolyon Palmer ended up winning it. You know, don't get me wrong, I love Jolyon Palmer, but he was never going to be a world-class driver. And it's similar thing.
To bring him in now, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? Bottas and Zhou is just going to be a weird mix.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
But
that makes no sense. Keep Giovinazzi in.
I'm going to sneeze. I'm probably going to sneeze. Oh, no, it's going. It's going.
Okay, Keep Giovinazzi in. Bottas and Giovinazzi make sense. There we go.
Got out of the system.
Bottas and Giovinazzi actually does make sense. So I wouldn't bring in any rookies unless you need to. I feel sorry for Piastri because if he's in line for winning,
I would bring in Piastri, but
he's not going to go anywhere. He's going to win, and he can't be F2, and he's got no seat.
Well, he's not guaranteed to win. We'll cover that off when we obviously we'll cover a bit of F2 later on. But I
know. Look at me talking about F2 knowing stuff.
I know, crazy. But yeah, he might not win F2. There's still plenty of races left for other drivers to get in there. But I think out of the drivers that are available, Piastri and Pourchaire, and even Nick De Vries have got a lot more potential than
Guan Yu Zhou.
Yeah. I do think De Vries would just be swapping an apple for another apple. I just think Giovinazzi, or as I heard, who is it? George Halson on the Grid Talk referred to him as Italian Jesus, which was hilarious. It's I think swapping De Vries for Giovinazzi would just be, again, it's like swapping one for another. They're only about 9 months apart in age, or just over a year apart in age. It's not like he's a young talent coming through. Right. He's not really shown a lot. He came 4th in F2 behind Russell, Norris, and Albon, and then won it the next year because those 3 weren't in it. That's what I mean. Yeah,
what? If they actually kicked their asses into gear, they should have taken Albon.
Yeah. Oh, that was the rumor for a long time.
They should have had Albon and Bottas.
Yeah, that would have been a strong lineup.
Okay, just because Bez has suddenly appeared on the live stream.
Oh, was he really?
And said that Alonso is the GOAT. Let's talk about cheating Fernando.
Right, let's talk about cheating Fernando then, eh? That was
timing. That was perfect
premeditated. Premeditated cheater. What a dirty, dirty Spaniard.
Makes 2 of them. Go on.
Well, no, you saw it on the lap to the grid. He went through there and tested it. It's just like, apparently earlier in the season he was saying that people are getting away with cheating an awful lot, and so he thinks he's going to start cheating, and then he just does it. blatantly.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't really gain anything from it here, to be fair to him, but he hung it around the outside. You could see him on the straight on the way down through turn one, going to turn. He was jostling to get over to that side so that he could outbrake himself and then go through the escape road.
Yes.
I mean, hats off to him.
Fair play to him for being a racing incident and he managing to not get any points or any penalty for it. And I don't think he even had to give places back, and he definitely made up 4 or 5 places.
The thing is, he was technically at the point he went off the track and then came back on, and then he was 2 places further up than when he went off, and he let 2 cars through, or 2 cars then passed him because they had a better overspeed. So technically, he didn't gain anything from it, but the reason he was in that position when he went off track was because he was purposely going too fast around the outside, was never going to make the apex, and then overtook 2 or 3 cars on the way towards the corner. So yes, he's cheating. I liken it to the Prix in London when Lucas de Grassi, the safety car came out. I think was it Lucas de Grassi decided to drive through the pits, because it was quicker than going behind the safety car, and he just overtook the entire field because it's a hole in the regulations. And it was only because when he tried to stop in his box, because the rule is you have to stop, that his wheels stopped moving, but the car was still sliding. That was the only reason that he didn't get away with it and got disqualified. It's the same as that. It's cheating. I know there's a hole in the road. There's a hole in the rules for it, but it was blatant. It was obvious he was cheating.
But I don't think he was the only one. There was a couple that just went off there.
No, he was the only one that went off at that corner at that point. The people were like off the track, but they didn't go through that escape road because they didn't go off at that exact point. So he? What's he saying?
That's genius, you mean? That's it's never next level racing. It really isn't.
That's next level racing.
Old school racing, I think. There we go. I don't think you could have timed that any better, Bez.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Anyway, let's talk about the other Spaniard in the team, Mr. Sainz.
Oh, you mean the best Spaniard on the grid?
The best Spaniard on the grid, which I think even Bez will take that. He'll take that for anything.
Carlos Sainz is hands down the best Spanish driver that's ever driven for Ferrari. And Renault.
He's just the best Spaniard ever.
Really, and McLaren. He's followed, apart from Minardi. In fact, no, because Minardi was Toro Rosso. Yeah. So he's raced. Who else has Alonso raced for? Because he's raced for every team that Alonso's raced for, hasn't he?
Right.
Toro Rosso, which was Minardi. They both came in for them. Then he went to Renault. Sainz then went to Renault.
Yeah.
Then he went to McLaren. Sainz then went to McLaren.
And then he went to Ferrari.
And then he went to
So next season, when he gets kicked out of Ferrari for Schumacher,
back at McLaren.
It'd be in Renault, won't he?
No, back at McLaren and then back to Renault again.
Yeah, that's it. I forgot that. He has to go back to McLaren. Which
for a year.
It could be interesting. I think that he could go back to McLaren. It would be interesting as to where he's going to stay there. So.
He'll go back to McLaren, get paired with Dan Ticktum and have a big falling out with him.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, Ticktum into McLaren. Oh, Jesus Christ. So it's Sainz is Alonso's son.
No,
he's Carlos Sainz's senior son. We've all seen his dad.
Sunday Sainz does it again. Phenomenal. Ferrari strategized themselves out of a strong position there. They were looking strong for second. They probably would have ended up third behind Hamilton because Hamilton was coming through. But again, he couldn't get past Ricciardo and he couldn't get past Norris, so he may not be able to get past Sainz.
Yeah,
I think Sainz had a bit more downforce on, but Norris definitely had the legs on Sainz.
Yeah,
but it was Sunday Sainz. Yeah, I felt so bad for him because if a Ferrari's going to win, I want it to be Sainz. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
but.
Actually, I don't mind Leclerc. I've really grown to like. I've really grown to like the Ferrari team.
I don't like his face.
You don't like his face.
There's something about his face.
It's probably the best looking face on the grid.
That's why I don't. That's why I don't like him. Too good looking.
Well, there's my pants in the back there. When I say pants, I mean the Irish term, American term of. No, it's not my underwear.
I was going to say, I thought if they're your pants, they're definitely your Bridget Jones pants.
Yeah. They're my pajamas.
You can tell I'm married, can't you? I'm referencing Bridget Jones.
This is no Bridget Jones. Anyway, Sainz. I literally can't say anything against Sainz. I can't say anything against Ferrari. I quite like the Ferraris now. I quite like Sainz.
You should the like what Sainz sounded like when they said we're on for P5. He was just like, "What? I thought we were in for the win."
Yeah.
I mean, you think he didn't say that? He's just like only P5.
Yeah.
But yeah, they obviously they boxed to not.
I don't know where
Stroll...
the Ferrari rate signs. That's what I can't work out.
I genuinely think they signed Carlos Sainz because they thought he would be a decent number 2 to Charles Leclerc, and then he had an amazing season at McLaren. Then like, oh, this is awkward. We signed a really good driver, and he's really. I mean, you look at. I mean, the point situation. He's ahead of Leclerc in the championship, which we'll get to later. I know Leclerc has had a lot more bad luck, and Sainz has probably made more mistakes than Leclerc as well, which just goes to show how much bad luck Leclerc has actually had. But he's definitely been a match for Leclerc on Sundays, and he's looked decent in qualifying as well. And
I do worry whether that
going to be fireworks
in the future is going to have the same Bottas and Perez issue of
I'm not sure he will.
Of being really good and still being kicked out because Schumacher's in the sidelines.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's what's going to happen. Schumacher's going to go into that position.
I think Sainz has got more peak potential than Bottas and Perez.
He might, but if you think about last season where he wasn't actually that bad in the pink Mercedes and Vettel came in. And then Perez was out of a job for a long while, and it was only because Albon was being a bit shit.
But
I do worry that Ferrari are going to kick Sainz out because he's only got 1 more year on that contract. I don't think they're going to hold him.
I don't think Ferrari are going to kick him out for Mick Schumacher unless Mick Schumacher is showing some real potential. Because
but how do you show real potential when you're in that shit?
Well, next year's car should be better.
Oh bullshit!
It will be. It will be better. It can't not be better. I'm not saying they're going to start winning races, but it is going to be a better car. It can't not be a better car. They haven't developed that car for 18 months. They've been working on 2022 for that entire time.
Yeah, and they're all suddenly going to go to number 1.
I mean,
yeah, bold.
No. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. They'll make a step forward. They
aren't going to be a middle team.
I don't think they'll be the worst team. I think they'll be. I think
that's for the worst team then.
Oh, do you know what? I probably Alfa Romeo. Genuinely. Or Alpine, Alfa Romeo or Alpine. I have no confidence in the Alpine lineup. I think it's going to be really, really tight midfield next season. I think they probably will be close to the back. I'm not saying they're going to be regular point scorers, but I think they will move forwards, and they'll certainly be competitive with the cars around them. They'll do like the similar jump to what Williams have done this year, in that they've designed a car that at some races might be able to get into the points.
So go on, let's talk about Williams while we're here.
Go on then. You want to talk about Williams?
What the hell is going on with them? Is it just me or they've suddenly become really good? Like, what the hell? How? I know, like, you could say, oh, it's Russell. Sorry, Latifi's like doing decent times and isn't a crock of shit that he usually is. You know, he's still in there. Like, I don't know what's going on with Williams in the sense of they're suddenly woken up. I don't know whether I knew they've got a whole new management team, but I do wonder if that's, changed the dynamic in the team, having this new management team, and that's why there's a bit more confidence going in, or whether they've had I know they've had a few upgrades, but I don't feel those upgrades were done as good as they've done. I know they had let's not talk about the fact that at Spa they lucked out,
Oh yeah,
and with that win, but I still feel like they're still in the points in a number of times. And, they're back in the points this weekend. There are points in Monza. It's just very strange.
Well, at the end of the day, you take away that I know they're locked out in Spa. He got into that position genuinely on merit.
Yeah.
Even if you said even if you said that, you take away those 18 points from George Russell and give him 2 points, say, they're still level with Alfa Romeo on 7 points apiece.
Yeah.
So they're still in that fight for 8th place, which we thought there's no way it's going to be 9th place at best. They've just got to score a point to make sure they beat Haas. But now they're there 23 points. It's not beyond the way they're performing.
But what's changed? And Leo Johnson's just come on saying 50 million injection of working capital helps. But I don't know if it does.
Absolutely.
I mean, it does in some ways, but that's not that's not going to change them overnight. Which seemingly has happened.
I think they were making, as soon as they got rid of the nepotistic project that was Claire Williams, there was definitely the whole organization was moving forwards then, and let's not forget, not a huge amount of time ago, they were a car that could win races, and they were a car that finished second in the Constructors' Championship 7 years ago. Yeah. So they're not, they have had such a monumental fall from grace that they haven't forgotten how to design a good car, but now they've got a team and an injection of capital. They can actually start to reach some of their potential. They've got equal best engine on the grid. They've got a decent design team around them. They've started streamlining stuff. They've stopped building everything in-house and started getting some customer parts in so they can redivert those people onto other areas.
But what is interesting about Williams is their in-house stuff as well has jumped on leaps and bounds, especially as they're so high up in the battery world of ESC, Scooter, or whatever they're called, ESC, and obviously the Extreme E is their battery capabilities. I wonder if that's all being fed into the system as well, and whether there is some technology advances that Williams are working on. But I'm excited to support Williams again. I feel like it's not that team that, I've always been a bit of a Williams supporter. I've been, that would have been probably my first team had they've done, if I wasn't such a glorious supporter as well. And I liked Russell and Latifi. But if Norris was in Williams, I'm excited by Williams next year. I'm excited by Albon being in there. I think that'll be interesting. And I think it'd be a really interesting. I'm hoping that they're actually working on this new car and they'll do really good next year.
I think they will. I think they'll make another step forward. They'll be mired completely in that midfield battle and hopefully pushing forwards. But yeah, it's again. I have no confidence in the Alpine outfit at all. AlphaTauri, it depends on how much they're allowed to do. For me, those two teams will be the ones that will fall backwards behind Williams, and Aston Martin they can't be this bad again next year. They can't be. I mean, I can genuinely see, I know it's a long way off, but the way the Williams are performing and the way Aston Martin can't seem to buy a point at the moment, I can genuinely see Williams, if they have another box office result, they could be close. They could be close to Aston Martin at the end of the year. I don't think they will pass them, but they could be close. But yeah, that's that Leo Johnson that commented. Apparently, he worked at Williams until recently, so that'll be.
He can give us an insight.
Yeah, we'd love to hear some insight from you, Leo. Let's. Oh, you also share a name with my cat, which is just there in the screen. Hello, Leo.
How to insult any of the guys on the chat there? Brilliant. Anyway, let's talk about the other random driver, which is Perez. Has he got off the boil? Was he ever on the boil?
Well, I had a theory about Perez, which I happily admit, I even said this on the pod last year. I've changed my opinion on him. But until last year, when he actually started to show some decent pace, I always thought he was the perfect pay driver because he brings a lot of sponsorship and he maximizes results.
Sorry, the perfect pay driver is Norris now.
No, Perez.
Norris.
No, different.
He's the perfect pay driver. Norris is a pay driver. Let's just be honest with that. And he's the perfect pay driver. Anyway.
Slightly different. Norris, I mean, go and look at F1 Chronicle, George Howson's article about Lando Norris being a pay driver to find out more about that. Slightly different scenario. It's not a case of his dad's bought him a team.
Daddy's money.
Well, of course, it's daddy's money, but at the end of the day, motorsport is expensive. Whether you use that money from family money or use it from sponsorship and backing, you still have to have the talent to get there. And like I say,
so
people like Stroll and
Norris is the perfect pay driver,
but he's not pumping in.
Perez.
No, he's not. Difference is he's not pumping in £20 million a year to be in that McLaren car.
He's just pumping in nothing.
Yeah, he got to that. He got that drive. He may have the money certainly opened doors for him, but he got signed up to that McLaren Young Driver program and got into that car genuinely on merit. Yes, the fact that he had there was no limitations on funds and was able to go around doing all kinds of different formulas, had no issues with super licenses because he was racing in like 16 different formula over the course of a few seasons and just like racking up super license points left, right, and center. So it was it was easier for him than it would have been for somebody else, but he still had to show the talent, and he showed the talent at every level. So, but so back to Perez, I said that he was a perfect pay driver because of all the he was able to get these results, Mr. Consistent, but he never, for me, has shown that overall ability to cut it at the highest level. And so he comfortably beat Lance Stroll last year. What does that mean? Doesn't mean an awful lot to me.
No, it's
really. And considering that the first half of the season, Stroll was beating him as well. It's just, I'm just not convinced. And I just don't. I genuinely think.
But is he a good number 2 to Max? Which is what
because he scored the same amount of points as George Russell in the last 5 races. He scored 16 points in the last 5 races. That's nothing. How is he helping the cause? He is the reason that Red Bull are not winning the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull have the best car.
That's a good point, because Bottas is the reason Mercedes aren't winning the championship.
But I mean, Bottas is contributing more than Perez, which, given the season that Bottas has had, is pretty bad, really.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. I mean, you look, there's like 33 points between Red Bull and Mercedes.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 points between Hamilton and Verstappen. So with the other 30 points, Bottas has contributed 30 more points to the Constructors' Championship than Perez. And Bottas has had more problems than Perez. That's I'm just not convinced by him at all. I genuinely think if Alex Albon was in that car, would he be doing better? And I'm starting to think, do you know what? Maybe he would be. Another year's experience behind him, a slightly easier to drive car.
Who would, right, the challenge is, though, who would be a decent number 2 to Max? In the same way, he's a decent number 2 to Hamilton. I'm very intrigued.
Are you talking compliant number 2, or are you talking someone who's going to push him?
Well, that's the question. What do you want? And that's the question that's happening in Mercedes with George Russell.
If it's someone who can drive a difficult car to drive, the perfect number 2 or perfect person to push Max Verstappen is Lando Norris. Because that McLaren is a very difficult car to drive. It's a very pointy car, just like how Max likes to drive it. So Lando Norris would be the perfect driver for Red Bull. If Verstappen upped and left, I'm pretty sure Norris.
Sainz would be.
And Sainz as well, the pair of them, actually. Both of them, because they both drove that McLaren to big heights last year. So those two would be top of the shopping list for Red Bull. So I think Norris would be top of the shopping list for Red Bull if Max Verstappen up sticks and left to somewhere else, because Red Bull make a cup car next year.
Perez? That's right, supporting Verstappen if Perez left.
For supporting him, do you know what? It probably would be Sainz for me, because he is compliant. He knows, I don't think he would be a willing number 2, but I think he would accept it if he was not quick enough.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't give up. He would just keep going, because that's how he's been brought up. So I think probably Sainz would be the best person to be alongside him, which is ironic given that they were teammates at Toro Rosso and they did not get on.
Well, that's the problem. But that doesn't, them getting on isn't an issue. They don't mean they need to get on. We've seen that with many teams. I mean, what it's like, although we've not really talked about it, like the McLarens, I mean, it's interesting that Daniel Ricciardo's suddenly found himself, with the win at Monza, but he didn't do bad in Russia either.
He was decent. I mean, he obviously 4th place finish. He was kind of hanging around in that sort of 6th, 7th place, where the McLaren should be.
But that's where he should be, and that's great. It's really interesting that he is there. And he wasn't. It just feels like he's slightly finding himself and slightly.
Yeah, I knew he would get closer. It's just how long it would take. He's definitely been better since they came back from the mid-season break, and I'm glad to see it, because obviously, Ricciardo is probably my second favorite driver, so behind Lando. Shock horror. But yeah, I mean, he is contributing to the cause now, which is good. It's not a one-man fight up there, which is, this McLaren have got a bit of a lead over Ferrari now. And they're very lucky that, with Norris dropping out of the lead and Sainz then inheriting a podium, that would have been a disaster for McLaren. But the fact that Ricciardo was up there in 4th place and Lando coming 7th with Leclerc out of the points means that they actually pulled away from Ferrari. They could have really massively drove a nail into the coffin had Norris been able to win that race. But Ricciardo was there picking up the points when Norris wasn't. And that's what he hasn't been able to do all year. He's ahead of Pierre Gasly in the championship quite comfortably now. He's not far off Charles Leclerc. He's only 9 points behind Leclerc now.
Yeah.
So that's strong. That's strong.
Is McLaren now third?
They are third. They're not guaranteed.
No, that's what I'm saying. Are we now sort of semi-guaranteeing them?
No, not yet. No, they're on. We'll just quickly cover the standards now. Mercedes 397.5. I'll ignore the half points. So Mercedes 398, Red Bull 365, McLaren 234, Ferrari 217, Alpine 103, AlphaTauri 84, Aston Martin 59, Williams 23, Alfa Romeo 7, Haas 0. So there's not, what's that, less than 20 points between them. There's 18 points, 17 and a half points between them. That's a second place. Yeah. That's nothing. There's no way. 7 races to go, 6 races to go. It's
talking of which,
it's not done.
Qatar's attached.
Are we going to that? Are we? That's kind of in the news, isn't it?
Oh, I didn't realize that was the news. I didn't realize. Who sticks the news at the end?
Well, because we cover everything to do with the race first, and then we go to the breaking news.
Breaking news!
Which wasn't breaking because it was this morning, and everyone probably knows about it. By the time we get this out, this is tomorrow.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
We've watching the live stream. Yeah. So the breaking news is slightly old news. That's what you need. Slightly old news.
Slightly old news.
Yesterday's news.
Yeah, so we have Qatar on the calendar for 2021 with a contract from 2023 of 10 years.
Yeah, what happens in 2022?
They didn't have a slot for it for next year.
No, their football's in Qatar.
Well, the World Cup. Yeah, maybe. That might have something to do with it. I wonder if
that's related to it.
Well, it's over Christmas. So I'll be surprised if it was, because there's not a lot of races over Christmas, is there?
When's the football?
It's over Christmas.
The football's over Christmas, the World Cup?
Yeah.
Or Euro, whatever.
It's in the winter because they can't do it in the summer because it's too bloody hot.
And when's the Formula One?
Well, probably in the summer sometime.
No, Qatar will be.
Well, they wouldn't want to do it.
Winter.
They wouldn't want to do it.
When's Qatar in this year? December.
Well, yes, it's at the end of the season, but that's because that's the slot that's available.
No,
I don't think they would want to have. They wouldn't want to have Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Saudi Arabia all close together.
Oh, I think they would.
They want to spread it out. They get more money that way. But equally, climatically, it gets so hot in Qatar. They probably wouldn't want to do that in the summer. They would want to do it at the start of the season, I think.
I reckon that's January, straight after the World Cup.
I reckon they'd start it in January. They'd start the season in February, March time with Bahrain, and then they'd probably do 1 or 2 races and then do Qatar after that.
I think the World Cup's getting involved with that, and that's why they can't do all of it.
I'm not sure.
It'd be the same winter anyway. Anyway, there we go. If someone that knows something can let us know, because we obviously don't know.
Yeah.
Grand.
Should we talk about
Driver of the day?
Driver of the day?
Hi, Emily. Yeah.
Who are you nominating?
I don't know now. I don't know. I've. It's not that I haven't long enough to think about this. And
do you want me to start?
Go on then.
So I've got honourable mentions for Hamilton, Verstappen, Sainz, and even Raikkonen for making that swap to the intermediate tyres and then coming out in 7th place. But initially I said no, but the more I think about it, the more I know you're going to disagree with me. I do think it's Lando Norris. And the reason I think about that, I look at his race. Russia is not a great race to start on pole position. So he lost the lead due to the massive slipstream from Carlos Sainz, despite getting a faster getaway than him. So he aced the start, but was unable to hold on to it because Russia. He looked after his tyres, did a bit of fuel saving. Then after 15 laps, he attacked Carlos Sainz. He retook the lead. He drove away from him. He managed his tyres brilliantly, didn't panic, waited until after Hamilton had stopped, made the stop 2 laps later. So he had fresher tyres so he could look after him. And then with the information that he had available to him, which was given to him by the team, he made the same calls that Hamilton would have made. And it was only the fact that the team gave him slightly questionable information that he decided to go for that. But then the fact that he was able to keep that car on track on those old dry tyres in that much rain without sticking it in the wall, getting it back to the pits, and then getting back out and still having the presence of mind to be able to overtake Kimi Räikkönen for 7th place on the last lap. For me, I think he still gets driver of the day despite that error.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't his error in per se, so that doesn't make him,
Yeah.
Um,
That's my thoughts. Whereas the other people that I mentioned there, you've got Verstappen was stuck in 7th, made a great call on the intermediates. If it's not Norris for me, then it's Verstappen. Hamilton, flawless performance. You can't really fault him. At the start, he got a great run, but had to get out the throttle because he was cut off by Lando Norris, and then ended up losing a couple of positions, and that compromised his whole race. Sainz, no fault of his own, ended up back in the midfield despite leading the race. And Raikkonen just made a good call at the end. So, but I still think out of those, if you are going to say that Norris had a hand in that decision, I think it goes to Verstappen for me.
For me, Daniel Ricciardo probably.
Okay.
Partly because he didn't get it last week when he should have got it, or 2 weeks ago when he should have got it, because we didn't ever do a driver of the day.
No, we didn't.
Also, he was faultless as well. Where did Ricciardo go wrong? He didn't. He made sensible decisions. It was a decent race. His start was very good. It was pretty faultless in some ways.
Yeah, but you can say that, but Perez was pretty faultless in the race.
Perez ended up in 9th.
Yeah, but Vettel was pretty faultless. Gasly didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but,
Ocon didn't do anything wrong, but it's not a driver of the day performance for me.
But I feel like he's doing what he should be doing, and it's not as if I think he ended up higher than he should have. Let's be honest, in 4th, which may have been sort of a bit of luck with tires and everything, but I think he's just coming in, and it is part of the fact that he didn't get it while we were at Monza, but I do think that he's just flourishing a bit now. And as much as I've been dicking on him recently, I think it's time where dues are given, that he needs his dues of being a driver of the day. And I like, to be honest, it's the McLaren boys full stop. Either of those with driver of the day. They both had a great drive and should have done better than they probably did. But, the McLarens, there's something going on in the McLaren factory, and there's something going in the Williams factory at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're both doing very well.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We can, I'll get behind that. So I guess that leaves the other award.
Who's our dick of the day?
Jesus, the pronunciation of dick is hilarious.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I mean, I don't know where to start.
Well,
I don't know. That's just almost too many.
For me,
there's honourable mentions of Stroll, of Tsunoda, of Mazepin, of Schumacher.
Mazepin didn't do anything wrong. Mazepin didn't do anything wrong this weekend. Credit where credit's due.
I thought he crashed into Schumacher again.
No, that was in Monza.
Yeah.
He was a dick in Monza, absolutely.
Maybe that's right.
No, I mean, Aston Martin's strategy department, McLaren radio or weather reading. Tsunoda just nowhere again. What's going on
with him? Yeah.
But Stroll really to take his teammate, to put his teammate into the wall and then run into the back of Gasly and then go into the wall himself, but able to carry on.
He seems to like going into the back of Gasly. I'm sure he's done it quite a few times.
I can't remember an exact time. What was the first race of the season? No, Gasly went up the back of someone on the first race of the season. I can't remember who it was though.
I feel like Stroll and Gasly. Maybe it was last year. Stroll can have it. I don't like.
Yeah, for me, I think it's Stroll. It's Stroll, or just the Stroll family.
Well, it's either the Stroll family or Aston Martin. Full stop. I really don't think Vettel did a great job. Do you know? So.
No, he was coming through, but still not really. Yeah, wasn't an awful lot going on there, really. Bit of a shame. But yeah, championship-wise, Hamilton obviously now leads the drivers' championship by 2 points over Max Verstappen. Valtteri Bottas 151. Norris would have been back up to third in the championship if he'd have won that race. 51 to 139, and then we've got Sergio Perez on 120, 19 points back. He needs to get ahead of Norris, or it's just Sainz 112 and a half. Leclerc 104, Ricciardo 95, and we've got Gasly 66, Alonso 58, Ocon 45, despite winning a race. Just goes to show, really, that I was completely wrong about Alonso. I'm pretty sure Bess isn't on the chat anymore, but Alonso is completely destroyed. Esteban Ocon, without his race win, would have 25 points. He wouldn't have scored points in Hungary had it not been for the bowling ball Bottas. He'd be on 25 points. He'd be behind Vettel and probably behind Lance Stroll as well in the standings. Vettel 35, Stroll 24, Yuki Tsunoda only 18 points, Russell 16. In that car, George Russell is almost ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Props to Latifi though, 7 points for him, 6 points for Raikkonen, biggest points haul for him for 2 years. Antonio Giovinazzi 1 point for me on the way out of Formula One, and then we've got Mick Schumacher, Robert Kubica, and Nikita Mazepin, 21st in a 20 driver championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
So
I think that probably covers off Formula One. Should we just cover off the support series?
Go on then.
Yeah. Well, I will just quickly look at the IndyCar because it looked like McLaren had a chance of winning the championship, but Ed Jones punted Pato O'Ward off on the first corner or the first lap, and that basically meant that Alex Palou just needed to cruise round in a reasonable finishing position to win the championship.
Which he did.
Yeah, he cruised around in fourth place. Colton Herta won his third race of the season. Joseph Newgarden second, Scott Dixon third, which meant that the final standings were Palou on 549 points, Joseph Newgarden 511, Pato O'Ward drops to third, heartbreak for 487. Horrible day for McLaren all round. Dixon back in fourth, will be very disappointed, 481. Colton Herta, good recovery to fifth with 455. Marcus Ericsson, his best ever season with 435 in sixth. Graham Rahal, seventh, 389. Simon Pagenaud, 383. And then Will Power, your boy. Slick Willie P, 357 points. Rossi, horrendous season. Back in 10th with 332. Takuma Sato, Rinus VK, Jack Harvey. Scott McLaughlin was Rookie of the Year. But, you take into account the races that Grosjean didn't take part in. I think Grosjean probably would have beaten Scott McLaughlin over the course of the season. But equally, Scott showed some really good talent. So those two, very exciting for them next year. Grosjean racing for Andretti next year as well. It's going to be interesting there. Bourdais, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Connor Daly. And then we get into the dregs. Jimmy Johnson in the end finished 26th, which given that there were, 43 drivers that raced in IndyCar this year, 26th is not too bad for Jimmy Johnson in the end, 108 points, but hey ho. Yeah. I think he was the last of the full-timers. I'm looking back through the list there. There's no one else that's full-time. He was last of the full-timers. Yeah. Even Dalton Kellett beat him, and he's rubbish.
Sorry, I've just seen some news. Don't worry.
Go on then. Do you want to do the news? I'm done with Indy.
This is Formula E.
Okay.
Formula E news. I didn't realise they were going to Canada, Vancouver next year.
Yeah. Vancouver was announced.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. Is that news? Not news then?
No, it's not news.
Oh no, it's part of it's part of a 3-day E-Fest. E-Fest.
Because do you know,
which was officially launched today. It was 5 hours ago, so it's not old news.
It is old news because it's Matthew Carter is the ex Lotus CEO is the organizer of the event, and he's been talking about it on Missed Apex for about 3 months. So not that I'm just plugging Missed Apex. Great podcast though, Missed Apex. Just saying. So that's obviously that's not news.
Sorry.
But Formula 2 though, if we have a look at Formula 2. I actually
watched a Formula 2 race this year.
Yeah, we had Formula 2 and Formula 3, which was not supposed to happen this year, but because of the cancellation of various Grand Prix, Japan, I think, was the reason. We ended up having F2 and F3 on the same race weekend, but because of the inclement weather, they did the first F3 race on the Friday, because they were worried about Saturday running. And as a result, they ended up just doing 2 races each, which didn't affect the championship because, we'll get onto F3 in a minute. But in Formula 2, everyone's favourite guy they love to hate, Dick Tantrum, wins the sprint race from Yuri Vips and Robert Schwartzman third.
Shocking. And did you hear what he said? It's like, oh yeah, it was about time I won something.
Yeah. I think he realizes. I think he now realizes that he is his own worst enemy, because I think he was quoted as saying that he's ruined any chance that he has of racing in F1 now, because obviously he's got no ties to F1 anymore now that he's been dropped from Williams. Yuri Vips, Robert Schwartzman, Jake Hughes, great sub in there in HWA, coming fourth. Theo Porcher fifth. Ralph Boschung. Christian Lundgaard is going to be in IndyCar next year. He's signed. Also, Callum Ilott signed for IndyCar next year.
Oh, really?
Which tells you everything you need to know about the Alfa Romeo Young Driver program there. Richard Bashaw.
Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, Oscar Piastri only 9th, and then Lorim Zindelli rounds out the top 10. And then the feature race, we saw Oscar Piastri, who got pole, go to win the race. Theo Porcher 2nd, Joan Deruvela 3rd, Robert Schwartzman 4th, Dan Ticktum 5th. Good haul of points from Ticktum, to be fair. Guan Yu Zhou 6th. Zhou dropped it on the formation lap on the first race. And then Liam Lawson 7th, Richard Bashaw 8th, Christian Lundgaard 9th, and David Beckman 10th. So that means the Formula 2 Championship standings, Piastri now leads 178 points to 142 for Guan Yu Zhou, Robert Schwartzman 135, Dan Ticktum 129, and Theo Porcher 120. Yuri Vips sits back on 102, Jen Deruvela with 96. So I forget how many rounds are left because I can't scroll across on this bar here. Yes, there we go. So we still have Jeddah and Yas Island. So we've got Abu Dhabi and Jeddah left, but that's not for 10 weeks. We're not back in Formula 2 until December now. So they're going back to the old system next year, back to 2 races and having Formula 2 and Formula 3 on the same race weekend.
What about W class then?
W Series. When's the next W Series race? I can't remember.
No, but is that still going next year as well?
Yeah, it'll still be going next year. I haven't heard any news on W Series about what's happening when. I'll have a quick look. But I think they have got Circuit of the Americas is their finale, which is a couple of weeks' time. 22nd, 23rd of October. And I've not heard about their calendar for next year yet, but that's looking like it's really. I mean, Alice Powell and Jamie Chadwick are tied. So that's 109 points each, and then Emma Kymäläinen in 3rd. So that's going to be fun to see who comes out on top out of them. Because Jamie Chadwick will be the only person ever to retain the championship, because they're going to go Formula 2 style and not allow the returning champion from next year. So she'll potentially be the only.
Why do they do that?
I guess
for without being rude for the W Series, where does she go? It's not like she can just.
I think the hope is that winning the W Series would actually help her get into another. Would actually give her a leg up.
What? Formula 2.
Well, yeah. I mean, Alice Powell's raced in Formula 3 before, so there's no reason why Jamie couldn't get a seat in Formula 2. I hope she does. Because she's clearly got talent. Yeah. So I genuinely hope she does. So we go into the Formula 3 then, and the championship was on the line. It was the finale. We're expecting 3 races, but it turned out we only had 2. But that didn't affect the championship because it was wrapped up in the first race. Race 1 results were Logan Sargent got his first win of the season. Dennis Hauger wrapped up the championship by finishing 2nd. Victor Martins 3rd. Clement Novalak 4th. Collette in 5th, Colombo 6th, Arthur Leclerc 7th, Vesti 8th, Juan Manuel Correa got some points in 9th, which is great, and Iwasa rounded up the top 10. And then Jack Doohan, very much against team orders, won what they're calling race 3, but was actually race 2. Him and Clement Novalak were fighting like their lives depended on it. And they were very much risking the team's championship for Trident. But in the end, it was Frederick Vesti that came through in 2nd, from Novalak in 3rd. And at the end of the race, our favourite guy, Jack Doohan, was being congratulated by his team, and they said, "Oh yeah, it was a bit risky, but it paid off in the end." And he said, "Well, I'm racing for me. This is my career." And the team were like, "Yeah, we disagree." I mean, to be fair, he is right.
Fair, it is right. He's
He is right.
there.
Yeah, he is. He is in that case. He is right. And they generally don't do team orders in Formula 2 and Formula 3, even though they are teammates, because they're all trying to obviously push their career. Logan Sargent fourth. Crawford fifth. Hoggard sixth. Leclerc seventh. Martins eighth. Owasso ninth, and Caldwell 10th. Which means for the championship, Hauger 205 points, Doohan 179, Novalak 147, Vesti 138, Martins 131 was the top 5. I mean, Schumacher had about a year. Good old Dave. 55 points. Came on strong in the second half of the season, but still doesn't really have a lot of talent in my mind. But yeah, so that kind of wraps us up, I think. Anything else you want to add? All wrapped up nicely in a nice, neat little bow.
Good. Nice to be back. We'll try and
keep
up. We'll try. And keep up.
We won't be doing one next week though.
We're not.
No, I'm doing another show next week. There's no race, and I'm doing a show, so there'll be no podcast next week. We need to catch up with Ian at some point. Go through the Extreme E. We haven't done that yet. We'll get Ian, if you're listening. We'll get you back on as soon as possible because we need to have a catch up. But yeah, be kind, be nice, look after yourselves, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks after the Turkish Grand Prix.
Anyone.
Yeah. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.